rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast on this Wednesday edition. This is your daily source of objective truth in a world of lies. We got a lot to talk about today that I want to get to. More fallout from the FBI. What happens when the Taint teams are tainted? We'll talk about that when the Taint teams are tainted. Also, child sex crimes involved with one FBI analyst is in the midst of that. We'll talk about that. Also, Biden had a speech last night. I'm sure one or two of you may have caught the speech. I certainly didn't listen to the speech. The guy is a complete and utter liar. And so I take no pleasure in listening to him. However, I try to listen to clips and read snippets of the speech just so I can make sure that I can share things with you. So I'll just talk about some of the bigger issues. Apparently, this is a guy that wants to get rid of the Second Amendment, but he doesn't want to get rid of the Second Amendment. He wants to get rid of weapons, but he doesn't want to get rid of weapons. He wants to federalize the police force. Guys, let me just say this. Do not support any politician. I don't care if they're a Republican. I don't care if they are a Democrat. If they want to increase the size of the deep state, if they want to increase the size of law enforcement via the federal government, stay clear of those people. Stay completely clear of those people. Do not elect them to higher offices, particularly if they're already in a high office and they want to go to perhaps the highest office of the land. We do not need a federal police force. Look at how things are playing out with the FBI, the world's most powerful law enforcement agency. Look what happens when they go rogue. Look what happens when they become partisan, when they become ideological. Look at what happens when you remove God from society. Listen, in order to run a republic, a constitutional republic that we have, our system counts on moral men. And by that, I mean men and women that are willing to subject themselves to the laws of the land. But when the FBI are above the law, it becomes a very dangerous and sticky situation. Let me just read some of the things that are in the headlines today. And by the way, please help out our friend Mike Lindell at mypillow.com. Mike Lindell, you guys know this. This guy is a patriot. He is a warrior. He is fighting for election integrity. And what do you know? What do you know? The FBI's this guy Tim Tebow, not like our Tim Tebow. I guess the T is silent in his name, but it isn't the athlete, the Christian whom I love. This is another FBI guy in charge of the Mar-a-Lago raid, and also that overlooked or covered up the Hunter Biden laptop story right before the election, or encouraged Facebook to do as much. But Mike Lindell is fighting for our election integrity. He is a patriot. Not only that, he's providing American jobs, American manufacturing right here in the United States with MyPillow. Right now, there's a special deal available for his Percale sheets, Percale, normally a queen size set, sells for $89.98. But for my listeners, they are only $39.98. These things have a 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee, and you can go ahead and take advantage of that. Any colors, any sizes that you need. It isn't just queen size. Also, you can use my promo code across the board on mypillow.com. Just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, put in the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, or you can give them a call at 800-858-0263. Use that promo code Carl. What you're going to do is help out Mike Lindell and American Manufacturing, and you're also going to keep this podcast rolling. And so we very much so appreciate that. Let me just give you guys a sense of where we are at in this world, because these elections matter. Every election, I say, I know we all say this, right? Every election cycle, it is America, we set at the precipice, right? It's an existential threat. The Democrats are an existential threat to America as we know it. And this election cycle, like we say, every election cycle is the most important election cycle of our lifetimes. Now, I know that we say that every election cycle, but it's been true every election cycle. But I don't think it's been more true than it is today, or more urgent than it is today. I'm telling you, this party that we're dealing with, the Democrat Party, is no longer a Democrat Party. It's no longer a liberal party. It is a party that that has been co-opted by communists. And this is what you must get through your listen. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Those of you that have listened to me for a long time, you understand that I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I want to give you a list of things that Joe Biden has done to destroy this country and the rule of law as you know it. But also, I want to just go over some of the headlines with you today. Republicans demand Facebook disclose communications with FBI on Hunter Biden's laptop. You guys already know the story. You got Mark Zuckerberg appearing on Joe Rogan's podcast. He lets the cat out of the bag that the FBI came to him and allegedly pressured him into censoring speech from those of us that are patriots about the Hunter Biden laptop. So it's yet to be seen, or we don't know what's going to happen to Facebook. We don't know what's going to happen with all of this. But Republican senators are demanding that Facebook turn over its communications with the FBI regarding the Hunter Biden's laptop. Now, hopefully Zuckerberg didn't get he may have gotten himself in trouble because I don't know if the FBI were so direct or if it was rather ambiguous or implied. So we'll find out. Senior FBI agent resigns amid scrutiny of helping bury the Hunter Biden investigation. That's this guy, Tim Tebow. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I believe the P is silent, but it's spelled Thibault. This is the same guy. A senior FBI official that oversaw the Mar-a-Lago raid, and also this is the same guy that helped to bury the Hunter Biden story. California passes FAST Act, allowing government to set wages for fast food workers. Guys, I want you to understand that what's happening in California will come to the rest of America if we don't stop it. California, they are totally, Gavin Newsom and the state legislature out there, they are absolutely communist. They are radicals and they are crazy. They're talking about this FAST Act that would allow the government to set wages, not employers, not a contract between employers and their employees, but the government to come in and set wages for fast food joints. Well, whom else can they tell what to do? What other restaurant? It doesn't have to be fast food. What other establishment, a store, gas station, warehouse? Where else will the government be able to come in and determine what your prices are going to be and what you're going to be able to pay your employees? That's going to be a complete and utter disaster. That's going to make fast food joints flee. Those of you that are in California, I would encourage you to flee. Already 300,000 people have left the state of California in recent years. I suspect the number will go even higher. This is going to totally destroy the fast food industry in California. Guys, I can tell you right now, as a person that was born and raised in Los Angeles, California is the home to the best mom and pop shops, those that didn't close down. In my opinion, probably in the United States of America. That's what I would say. Obviously, I'm biased being from there, but I'm not kidding you. You want some of the best Mexican food, you want some of the best Asian food, whatever it may be, man, you can find a great mom and pop shop in California. And I mean, on every corner virtually, at least it used to be that way. Prior to COVID, not sure exactly how it looks now. I haven't been out there in a couple of years, so I have to go back and visit and see if things are the same. But my understanding is that a lot of businesses closed down. Now that will just totally destroy fast food joints out there, totally destroy small business out there. And a lot of people just aren't going to get hired because businesses are going to have to close down. 1 year after another headline, 1 year after Afghanistan withdrawal, the DOD attempts a victory lap over the debacle in Afghanistan. These people are insane. These people are loony. Russia wields a gas as a weapon of war against the West. These idiots on the West, our allies that bought into this green nonsense, are now feeling the pressure, are now feeling the pain. They're expected to, as Russia is set to shut down its Nord Stream pipeline. You know, the pipeline that Joe Biden helped bring back online when he shut down Keystone XL pipeline. Well, it looks like the Russians are set to shut it down this Wednesday for maintenance. That's going to leave Europe guessing again about whether the supplies will restart or not. So they're in for some of the darkest days, darkest winters and coldest winters that they will have, that they've had in quite some time. And they don't know how long this is going to take. This may take years may even take up to a decade because these morons bought into the global warming nonsense, and they've been, now they're controlled by Putin to a certain extent. So now they got to get things back up online so they can run fossil fuels, natural gas, in order to heat their homes. This is the idiocy. Some intimidation going on. I'm just reading headlines. This is from the tip sheet today because I want you to understand the world that we're living in. Nikki Haley's nonprofit donors leaked. Points finger at the New York AG's office. This is Letitia James doing the dirty work for the Democrat Party. Again, nonprofit donors to Nikki Haley's nonprofit were leaked in order to intimidate donors. Guys, don't be intimidated by these people. They are going to leak your names. I'm sorry. As long as the left is in charge, none of us are safe. We're going to have to go through some pain. It stinks. It stinks, but this is where we're at. I don't know how we turn back the hands of time except to fight. But these are some of the tactics that the left are currently using. Biden calls for $37 billion to hire police officers and to ban assault weapons. First off, there's no such thing as an assault weapon. Don't even use the term. This is what the left wants you to do. There's no such thing as an assault weapon. It's totally a lie. I know California is lying about the number of mass public shootings that they have, talking about Uvalde, the Texas Miracle died with Uvalde, or some nonsense like that. When California literally has had more public mass shootings over the last decade or so than Texas has. I think Texas has had 5 or 6, where California has had 10. Just a total and complete utter joke. But I'm really concerned about this police force. It says here, Joe Biden vowed to ban assault weapons and fund police officers in his speech last night, marking the first of 3 visits over a week to the political battleground of Pennsylvania ahead of November's congressional elections. Biden has called on Congress for $37 billion for crime prevention programs and providing some of that money to police to reduce gun crime, which has surged in the United States. There's no such thing as gun crime. There's a such thing as criminals using guns. Guys, we cannot federalize our police forces. We cannot. Look at what's happening with the FBI. That's all you need to understand. We cannot do that. Take our local police officers, our local sheriff's offices, and radicalize them and turn them into a federal police force where they are beholden to the federal government instead of their local communities. That is very dangerous. This is why when Tim Scott even mentioned this police reform, and while he's in the federal government, listen, I love Senator Tim Scott. He's totally wrong on that. I do not believe in that whatsoever. That is crazy. There's a place for the federal, the federal, state, and local laws. Senator Tim Scott, I love you. With all due respect, please, I don't want any police reform coming from the federal government, and neither should any of you. That's going to put us in very, very dangerous territory. Very dangerous territory. You see, Taiwan has shot a Chinese drone invading airspace. This is after Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan with no clear mission or no clear plan, a legacy trip, in my opinion. Here's another headline. Google keeps Trump's Truth Social off Android App Store, citing issues with content moderation. So what Google wants to do is force people, patriots on Truth Social, to think and speak like them. Otherwise, Truth Social apparently won't get up on the Android, up on Google, so that they can't be on the Android. The app can't be on the Android phone. We can't be beholden to these people. We need alternative tech companies. More of them are popping up. By the way, we're on rumble.com. Please subscribe to our show, our podcast on rumble.com, The Carl Jackson Show, also YouTube, The Carl Jackson Show. But look at these alternative sites. Go to True Social, go to Getter, find me there, The Carl Jackson Show on social media. And also subscribe to the podcast, thecarljacksonshow.com, SalemPodcastNetwork.com, some places where you're going to be safe in subscribing and listening to that podcast. But we got to get past these fools. We really do. Also, you guys have heard the news of Mikhail Gorbachev dying at the age of 91. Here's what I want to do. I want to focus on, for the sake of today's podcast, how much Joe Biden sucks real quick and some of the things that he's done that proves that he's a complete and utter failure. And I want to focus on him just a little bit here before I go on again to more FBI woes. And I do believe this is very important. If you don't have the rule of law in a constitutional republic, you don't have a republic. You don't have a democratic republic. You don't. You have tyrants. You have a society of the have and have nots. So let's just quickly remind you, this fool in the White House that's sitting here telling us that he wants to fund a police force. This corrupt little punk is telling us he wants to federally fund a police force and law enforcement. These are the same people that stood up strong for the defund the movement. You know, Biden was he was pro-cop before he was anti-cop. I mean, the guy's a complete and utter joke. He shifts with the wind. This guy cannot be trusted. We know he's a liar. And the people that post his material on the teleprompter are liars too. But this is a guy that's facilitating right now a deadly border. He's talking about funding local police. How about you fund the Border Patrol? How about you close the freaking border? How about you close the wall? How about you start there, Joe Biden, so that we don't have fentanyl pills coming across our border and killing our young men and women that are being duped by these pills that look just like Percocets and all this kind of stuff. Why don't you start there? If you want to fund anything, fund the border wall, and make sure that we have more Border Patrol agents, more people in Customs and Border Patrol. Why don't you start there? Shipping illegals right to a city near you. Illegal immigration is rampant in this country right now. We are diluting the American dream. People aren't assimilating in this country. You don't think that's going to have an impact on us long term? Of course it is. When people don't feel like they have to abide by the laws of this nation, do you think they're going to have any respect for any laws going forward in the United States? No, of course not. This is insane. But thanks to Biden, this is what's happening. Illegal immigration coming to a town near you. It's insane. It says here, and this hat tip to Federalists, in addition to ignoring the border crisis, Biden is secretly shipping illegal migrants across state borders and into suburban cities and family neighborhoods. This goes back to February. He planned to dump 1,000 Afghan refugees right next to Loudoun High School without contacting local law enforcement about the plan. This is who we're dealing with. When you don't have the leader of the free world that's supposed to protect this country first and foremost, that has open border policies, guys, we're not living in a safe America. This is a president, this is an administration that are holding kids hostage to this trans radicalism. They have no problem, the Biden administration and Democrats do, supporting this notion that kids can determine what sex they are. It's crazy. They can be whomever they want to be as far as their biological sex is concerned. This is a guy that's destroying the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in case we need fuel in the future in case of emergency. This guy, the only reason the prices are low for gas, or as low as they aren't low, but as low as they are, is because this guy's tapping out our Strategic Petroleum Reserve. This is the stuff Republicans need to be talking about and reminding people about every opportunity they get. Because after the elections, guess what? He's going to finish tapping. They're tapping about 1 million barrels a day from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. But this is going to end, I believe, in October. And then what's going to happen? What's going to happen slowly? We're going to see the prices start trickling back up at the pump. This is a guy that botched the Afghanistan withdrawal, and I call it a retreat and surrender, and tried to pretend he wanted a photo op in time for 9/11. So he took all of our troops out first before taking American citizens, American allies that were there out, many of them perhaps slaughtered. Insane. Then we lost the 13 at the Kabul airport there. This is an administration. This is a party, the Democrat Party, I should say as well, that supports child castration and sterilization. This is a party that is driving up inflation, spending more and more of your money. Not only the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a complete and utter lie, it'll do the complete opposite. You don't put more money on a credit card and say, hey, you're going to pay less in interest. It doesn't happen that way, folks. They think we're stupid. And now this is a party, the Democrat Party, that wants to bail out student people or students that chose to take out a loan in order to pay for college, and they want the rest of us to pay for it. Those that have already gone to college and already paid for it, or those of you like me who didn't go to college and, hey, listen, I can't afford it. I went to a couple of years of community college. I dropped out. Actually, I got upset because I wasn't that tech savvy at the time. I'm still not. But literally, I got an A in American history. And then these fools came back and said that I didn't pass American history. I literally failed it because I didn't take the major exams all year, which I took all year. and aced all year. So somehow there was a mix up that discouraged me for a minute. But also it made me look at, I got a grant, I think, for that semester, if I recall. No, actually, I think I paid for that semester. Uh, yeah, because that was later. I believe I paid for that semester. But early on, I got some grants, and I just didn't feel good about it because I was getting grants. One, I did score high on the English portion of the whatever the college test it was to get in. Didn't score as well on math, but also I know that I got some money, grant money, because of my skin color, and I didn't feel good about it. So I was like, you know what? If I can't afford it, I'm not going to go back. It was probably a hard choice, but a simple choice too, if that makes sense. Letting babies go hungry. I mean, you're talking about baby supply shortages. You guys remember that? You ladies out there remember that? Tampon shortages. This is insane. This is who this administration is. And never forget, never forget, never forget, never forget. Please, por favor. You got to get used to saying por favor, because Gabe, I think Spanish is going to be the official language for America. Would you agree? With the borders wide open, Gabe speaks Spanish, so he might agree with that.
Why
not? All right, so that may be the case, but we'll see. But these are some of the things that this administration has done. Again, don't forget, forcing that jab on you, forcing the jab on people. Now, we know a lot of evidence has come out against the jab, against mask, all of these things that the CDC, the NIAID, the NIH recommended under the leadership of fascist Fauci. It's insane. These guys destroyed your lives, wrecked your lives. Told you couldn't go to work, told you couldn't go to certain places of business if you didn't have the jab or didn't have a mask on. And then when they find out, actually, they knew for some time, but when they realize that Republicans are likely going to take over the House, perhaps even the Senate, there's going to be some investigations. All of a sudden, the CDC, we may have got this wrong. We may have got this wrong. We should have done this differently. I mean, just destroying people's lives. They knew all along. They knew all along. So never forget that. Scheming to enact radical abortion radicalism. I mean, these are people that want to get rid of the Hyde Amendment. I can't even recall it's been so fast and furious that maybe they already have. It's pretty scary where now those of us that don't believe in abortion, because Roe v. Wade was overturned, I believe it was in the Inflation Reduction Act, a part in the Inflation Reduction Act. It may have gotten taken out. Now I forget. Man, I'm going to have to go back and do some research on that. I don't want to give you guys wrong information or false information, but I know they wanted to get rid of the Hyde Amendment and wanted us to pay for abortions across the country, which is insane after we just overturned Roe v. Wade. All right. Here's the stuff that I really wanted to get to. Now, let me take a swig here. I just needed to remind you what we're fighting for, because the news is so focused on Donald Trump. And listen, I love Donald Trump. I love for him to be president again. But what I don't want is for us to go forward in this election cycle and not talk about the damage that the Biden administration and the Democrat Party has done to this country in less than 2 short years. This country is almost unrecognizable. Actually, it is unrecognizable. So now, let me get to this story, these stories real quick. Very, very, very important. So what if the Taint team is tainted? What if the FBI's Taint team is tainted? Hat tip, just the news. John Solomon reports before FBI sees privileged Trump memos, the DOJ filter team's already tainted by legal controversy. So let me just read the summary to you. Again, this is John Solomon of Just the News. Great work there. Basically, the DOJ admitted during their raid at Mar-a-Lago that they wrongfully took attorney-client privilege documents, but it was no big deal because the department has this process to segregate privileged material, right? No big deal. That process is known as filter teams, or taint teams, as they're called, has itself been tainted by a string of recent legal controversies over the seizure of attorney-client privilege protected materials in other cases, John Solomon reports. Even defense lawyers don't trust the taint teams, including the firm that once employed Hunter Biden himself. About the honor system that, this federal, that's an honor system. The taint team is an honor system, right? That the federal law enforcement claims to use to protect privileged evidence that has led to a pending, and I don't know how to pronounce this, a pending writ of some of you attorneys will be laughing, writ of certiorari, asking the U.S. Supreme Court to rule on the legality of such teams. So what is a writ of certiorari? It orders a lower court to deliver its record in a case so that the higher court can review it. So when lower courts send delivers records to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decides on a case. That's that's how it works. That's a writ of however you pronounce it. You lawyers out there, laugh at me and all you want. Make sure you message me on Facebook, The Carl Jackson Show, so I know how to pronounce that freaking word. CERTIORARI. All right, so there's a case that's headed to the Supreme Court, filter taint team procedure by this guy, a guy by the name of Mordecai Korf, says needlessly and harmlessly exposes assertedly privileged communications to the government's eyes. Actually, these are the lawyers for a defendant by the name of Mordecai Korf. And others are arguing and asking the nation's 9 justices of the Supreme Court to consider the case. The lawyers go on to say, the lawyers for Mordecai Korf say, quote, it undermines essential protections for the adversary system, and it jeopardizes the confidentiality needed for their applicable privileges to serve their vital purposes. Now, Trump is railing about the taint teams. He wants a special master appointed, and as well he should. One should be appointed. These taint teams are tainted. So I believe we'll find out whether or not he gets a special master, but he should get a special master. There's no doubt. Again, these taint teams are tainted. There's 3 other federal appeals courts that have raised concerns about the FBI so-called taint teams as well. And the Security and Exchange Commission, here's something on them. The Security and Exchange Commission, which often investigates financial crimes alongside the FBI, recently admitted, again, this is the Securities and Exchange Commission, recently admitted to significant breaches in 2 cases where its computer system mistakenly allowed criminal investigators to have access to potentially privileged documents, attorney-client privilege documents, from its administrative regulatory side. The agency blamed the mistakes on a, quote, control deficiency, close quote. Here's a statement from the Securities and Exchange Commission. We deeply regret the Commission's systems lack. Let me read that again. We deeply regret that the Commission's systems lacked sufficient safeguards surrounding access to adjudication memoranda. They go on to say, we have great faith in the professionalism of all of our staff, don't they always? And we'll work to ensure that going forward, we better protect the separation of adjudicatory work product within our system for administrative adjudications, including by enhancing our systems for controlling access to adjudication memoranda. We take this lapse in controls very seriously and are working hard to make sure nothing like it happens again. Well, here's a quote from an attorney here. He says, although the recently revealed SEC mishap appears to have been limited to its own materials, the inappropriate access to privileged materials is an ongoing problem that exists across prosecutorial enforcement agencies and institutions. Now, you guys may recall that the DOJ is currently arguing, hey, Trump doesn't need a special master because we've got our taint teams. Our taint team has already looked at his material, including his material that's supposed to be a client, attorney-client privilege. We've looked at that. Everything is good. Our taint teams, we're all on the up and up, so we're good here. But the problem with the taint teams, he stated, is that reviewing teams lack independence. So he says, and I quote, this is the attorney Robert J. Analo. This team comprises the prosecutor's colleagues, and is conducted within the agency that is responsible for prosecuting the matter. Really? You don't think there's a self-interest to protect themselves? Even the managing partner at Hunter Biden's old law firm basically said, listen, I don't trust these taint teams. What are you, crazy? He wrote a rebuke for the DOJ's use of the taint teams in an article back in March involving the case of an investor on trial. And here's what he said. This is a managing partner, I believe, at the old firm that Hunter Biden used to work at. And he says this, clearly, the use of taint teams quote, clearly raises a host of risks and concerns, close quote. He added that he did not think DOJ was open to the sort of sorely needed, quote unquote, reforms that would truly protect privilege. He says, we are not particularly hopeful that the DOJ will relinquish its unilateral role in making privilege determinations, their unilateral role, quote unquote. All right. So a special FBI master or a special master is needed to overlook the what was done at Mar-a-Lago. It's absolutely insane. They took the guy's passport. They took President Trump's passports. They went and rummaged through Melania Trump's stuff. No business rummaging through there. No need to rummage through there. It's insane. More courts are finding themselves disagreeing with the whole concept of these taint teams for the FBI because they're tainted. Here's what a Mississippi federal judge thought on the taint teams. In Mississippi, a federal judge concluded in June that the government's protocols for taint teams were so lax that they were likely to cause, quote, irreparable harm, close quote, to a defendant whose evidence was raided. That ruling has reverberated in legal circles, leading some to suggest the DOJ simply wants a fox in the privilege henhouse. And that is so true. Guys, listen, I've been in depositions before. I've been in depositions with family court. I've been in depositions with criminal court. You don't want the other side to know what you have, except for what you kind of get a sense in depositions, right? You understand what could be asked of the other side, but for the other side to completely know what you have, why you're asking the questions that you have, then your advantage is gone. Your advantage is gone. And that's what these taint teams do. They get rid of the advantage for the defendant. So I'd like to know how many taint teams, how many cases taint teams have been involved in some way or another. Maybe we have to go back and look at all of these things. Also, at least 3 federal appeals courts rejected these taint teams in the last 3 years have similarly expressed, these federal appeals courts have, concern about the DOJ's taint teams. The most direct ruling came in 2019 by the 4th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. This was in a Maryland case in which federal prosecutors got a magistrate judge, there's that word again, to approve a raid on a law firm. The appellate judges concluded the use of a DOJ taint team to determine which privileges to protect for the law firm, quote, inappropriately assigned judicial functions to the executive branch, close quote. In 2019, the FBI created a taint team to oversee their taint team. I'm not joking. In 2019, the FBI created a taint team to oversee their taint team because there were problems. And you don't think you think Trump shouldn't have a special master? He better get a special master. In 2020, in response to the appeals court's rebuke, the Justice Department announced some reforms, creating a special matters unit to supervise the taint teams and create an additional watchdog for a process defense lawyers had begun howling about. So let me get this right. You have a taint team that goes in to make sure that the FBI didn't taint anything, but because the taint team is tainted, you need a taint team to oversee the taint team. My God, people. The FBI has destroyed themselves. I'm glad that there are whistleblowers. Apparently more are coming out. Praise God for that. But I hear the numbers. I heard the numbers were, I think that was on Sebastian Gorka's show, Dr. Sebastian Gorka's show, if I recall correctly. I believe I overheard him say there are 34,000 members of the FBI. You got 20 whistleblowers. 20. 34,000 people in the FBI. 20 whistleblowers. Praise God for those 20. But it's 20. In 2021, the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals rebuked federal prosecutors in a new case in Texas for their contact with a taint team, ultimately concluding the government appeared to have, quote, no intent to respect the target's interest in the privacy of its privileged materials as the investigation unfolds. Well, what do you expect? When a law enforcement agency is rogue, when they have their own power, when they call their shots, what the hell do you expect? This is unbelievable to me. You cannot have a federal law enforcement agency operating in this manner, almost free from scrutiny and accountability, even from Congress. Yeah, Congress can ask questions, but if you're not in charge and you got these radicals on the left that are in charge that are using these people for their ends. The Democrat Party is that using the FBI for their ends. What can you do? You're stuck like Chuck. Katie Sullivan, she's a former deputy assistant attorney general on the Trump Justice Department, told Just the News that the courts would benefit from the U.S. Supreme Court weighing in on the legality of filter teams and the proper procedures for them. She says, and I quote, "I think it will provide a lot of guidance. This is a fairly new, fairly recent development of a procedure and protocol," she says. "I think it just goes to show how great or how big government has grown, how big the FBI has grown." And again, I don't trust any of these bureaucratic agencies. Sadly, the law enforcement agencies, the world premiere one time, is losing all credibility. All right, now, last thing here. Just real quick before I go into this last story that I want to share with you. And just to recap, we've shared how disastrous Biden is. Now this guy wants to fund a federal law enforcement agency. Now he's all of a sudden anti-gun, but he's pro-Second Amendment. I don't know how that works, but apparently the left thinks that works. Guys, with people like the FBI, that the Democrat Party or that are operating or like an arm of the Democrat Party, and to not have our Second Amendment intact is completely scary. Second Amendment isn't for hunting. I know that may be cute. I know that may be fun, but the Second Amendment isn't for hunting. It isn't even for self-defense. The Second Amendment is to guard against tyranny with a corrupt and dangerous government. It's very scary to say. No one likes to think about this stuff. I don't like to think about this stuff. I pray that we never get to a time where we have another revolutionary war or civil war on the streets. I pray that it never comes down to that. But the left is crazy. They are crazy. And this is getting very disconcerting. I just got to speak the truth to you. This is getting very, very disconcerting. We got to get rid of, I'm sorry, we have to get rid of the FBI. There is no salvaging the FBI. Guys, by the way, I didn't want to kill myself if I wind up dead today. Just want you to know that. But we need to get rid of them. We can't have the FBI working for anyone. So I spoke of ways in which you can break the FBI up. Some people will have to go bye-bye. Other people can go to different organizations within federal law enforcement, secret service, U.S. Marshal Service, so on, etc. The counterintelligence apparatus and the FBI will be the hardest to break up because they deal with law enforcement and counterintelligence. But we're going to have to figure out a way to do it because we cannot have these bullies in these federal law enforcement agencies. All right, now, if you don't think there are enough woes, or if you don't think the FBI was under enough scrutiny, well, here's a little more scrutiny for the FBI. I hat tip the National Pulse. The FBI's Supervisory Intelligence Analyst has been arrested for child sex abuse. That is right. A man who works for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, otherwise known as the FBI, has been arrested and charged with molesting multiple children. This, according to a local news reports from Salt Lake City, Utah. Robert Alexander Smith. Let me read the name of the pervert again. Robert Alexander Smith, 65, faces 4 first-degree felony counts of aggravated sexual abuse of a child, 4 Class A misdemeanor counts of lewdness involving a child, and 2 Class B misdemeanor counts of lewdness. Now, this guy is in serious need of what Rush Limbaugh used to call a chop a dick off of me. Smith was arrested after a young girl believed to be 6 or 7. Wow. At the time, told her mother that he forced her to inappropriately touch him underneath his clothes in 2020. Parents, this is a great reminder to remind your kids there is a such thing as stranger danger. There is a such thing as perverts. And to educate them on what that means, whatever their maturity level is, your own kids. But we have to make sure that we talk about this stuff, especially in a society where the left is trying to over-sexualize your children. You need to talk to them about boundaries, things that adults cannot do to them, things that other children cannot do to them, because it is wrong, it is evil, and unlawful. Smith, a resident of Utah, allegedly had an inappropriate interactions with at least 4 other girls, ranging in age from preteen to high school. Now, this guy's 65 years old. I suspect he's been with the FBI for quite some time. I hope other victims come forward, because I have a feeling they're out there. He allegedly forced one of the girls to touch him in the same way as the other victim, and the 3 other girls said Smith had touched them inappropriately underneath their clothing. The alleged abuse took place at Smith's home in Stansbury Park at the time, though he now resides in a place called Toole. I believe it's, isn't that fitting, inside of Utah. Tooele. Court documents emphasize that Smith occupied, and I quote, occupied a position of special trust as it pertains to the victims in this case. Nothing does more damage to the FBI or law enforcement than a pervert like this. A corrupt cop. You hear all the time. I hear people say good cops can't stand corrupt cops. I totally understand it. Because this is utterly upsetting. When you have someone in the FBI that will abuse children like this, I mean, what does it do to your reputation? What does Tim Tebow do to the reputation of the FBI? It's sullied. It's tarnished. It's not returning. The FBI needs to go bye-bye. The FBI needs to go bye-bye. The story goes on. Smith has been arrested and is being currently held without bail. Good. Put him in general population. FBI's generic response. Here it is. Responding to the arrest, the FBI offered the following statement and referred the matter to its Internal Affairs Department. Oh, is that like a Taint team? We are aware of the arrest of an FBI employee. The FBI takes allegations of misconduct very seriously. As such, the incident has been referred to the FBI's Internal Affairs section. We cannot comment further on an ongoing personal or personnel matter. Isn't that the same thing they said about Tim Tebow when Senator Kennedy was questioning Christopher Wray on the Hill? So weird. Somewhat of a generic statement. Now, Smith's case follows the arrest and indictment of several high-profile politicians for grooming and molesting children. One was an Oregon mayor. The Biden White House has also appointed a Democrat Oregon mayor, obviously in Oregon. The Biden White House has also appointed individuals with a history of defending underage sex work to high-level positions, which within agencies, including the Department of Energy. So not only is Biden questionable about the way he may have at least a diary confirmed, we can, since people have been arrested for taking Ashley, or finding, I think, Ashley Biden's diary. I believe finding her diary. They were arrested. They gave it to James O'Keefe of Project Veritas. So anyway, the fact that the FBI was searching for that proves that the authenticity of that. Now, in that diary, Ashley Biden claimed that she had showers with her daughter, showers with her father at an inappropriate age, or inappropriate ages. Now, I don't know exactly what the age is. I don't think she framed it exactly that way, but it was pretty close to that. And then you have this guy, Tim Tebow. Again, this is a guy that covered up the Hunter Biden laptop, was also in charge of the Mar-a-Lago raid. Oh, man, it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane where we are, but you need to understand where we are, because you need to understand how important it is for us to win this election. Guys, there's senators that need help. You got Blake Masters in Arizona. You got Herschel Walker in Georgia. You got Dr. Oz, not the biggest fan of Dr. Oz, running for Senate, but it is what it is. And he's much better than that Fetterman guy. At least he's not a socialist. And Fetterman is straight up socialist. Big Bernie Sanders like guy that can't even campaign, has had a stroke. So you have him. You have Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. Even Marco Rubio right here in Florida is up for the fight of his life in the Senate, I believe. Hopefully the polls are wrong. But anyway, Val Demings would be absolutely horrible. So we got to make sure Rubio stays in. Again, you might not like all of these candidates. Right now, we are in an uphill battle to save America. So we've got to get the socialists out. We can fight Republicans. We've shown that we can fight Republicans. We've shown that we can elect MAGA or America First Republicans. But I'd rather see Republicans in office than a Democrat any day of the week, and twice on Sunday. But this is absolutely disgusting, man. This FBI guy is a total disgrace. I'm sure he's going to get what he deserves. Hopefully Tim Tebow will too. I don't want these guys to be able to get their pensions. after they're like this guy Tainted. He should not be able to get a pension. He should not be able to work in law enforcement again, not just federal, but local or state. There needs to be, and I suspect maybe he'll get criminally charged with something, maybe not. I'm highly doubtful, but we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted you to understand the fight that we have before us. And I want you to understand that if we don't have a rule of law in America, we don't have a constitutional republic. We simply don't. You can't have a society that functions where there are rules for what is it? Rules for me or not for thee, or rules for thee or not. And I always get that mixed up. But basically a society of the have and have nots. The elites get special privileges, and the rest of us peons, we are just subject to the elites. So they don't get in trouble by things when they break the law, right? They are the law themselves. They are the embodiment of law, and we're just the peons, and they can kick us around and use the law arbitrarily against us any way they see fit. They see fit, as long as it helps them rise to power and fame and all this kind of stuff. Oh, God, help us. God, help us. We are in a serious, dangerous time. Guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to this particular podcast, or this podcast today. Again, I just want to remind you, please go to mypillow.com. Guys, not only are you going to help out this podcast, but you're going to help out a great patriot and Mike Lindell. You're going to help out American workers, American jobs, right? American manufacturing, mypillow.com. Take advantage of this deal on the Percale sheets. Queen size normally $89.98. Now for my listeners, $39.98. Use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. Just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listeners square, or you can give them a call at 800-858-0263. That is 800-858-0263. Make sure you get on top of that deal while it lasts, because once they're gone, they're gone. I mean, 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. Please take advantage of that and use that promo code anywhere on mypillow.com for any product there to get special deals. So use that promo code Carl. Also, be sure to follow me on social media, The Carl Jackson Show, wherever I am on social media, The Carl Jackson Show. Por favor. Also, follow me on Rumble. Like, subscribe, rate, review, rumble.com, youtube.com. Everywhere where we are or can be heard, thecarljacksonshow.com. Guys, until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.